Hey guys, it's Mrs. Peterson, that lady who teaches art, and today I'm going to talk to you about the element of art called line. So that is our term for today. And what is line? I created a little picture here of a line that creates kind of the shape of a star. You guys know that stars are my favorite shape. So this is a line, but here's the dictionary definition of a line. A line is a point moving in space. And now that seems like really like, what are you talking about? So here's a good example of what that means. If you put the point of your pencil or pen down and you move it through the space of your paper, you've just created a line. So that's what a point moving in space actually means. So let's talk about some specific kinds of lines that you should know. So the first one is a thin line. And a thin line is just, a skinny line. The opposite of a thin line would be a thick line. And my younger students might call this a fat line, chunky line. We'll call it a thick line. Thin and thick are opposites. The next type of lines that I want you to know about are vertical and horizontal. So I'm going to write those here. A horizontal line goes from side to side. And I remember this one because it's like the horizon line where the sun comes up. That's a horizontal line. The opposite of horizontal is vertical. A vertical line goes up and down like this. Now, I always had a hard time remembering these two, telling them apart. I would have to think, if someone said, draw a vertical line, I wouldn't be able to automatically do that. I would have to think, okay, a horizontal line goes side to side, like the horizon line, so a vertical line is the opposite. It must go up and down. Well, I had a very fun first grade little boy last year. He raised his hand and he said, well, Mrs. Peterson, I know how you can remember a vertical line. He said, just remember very tall. You see, Mrs. Peterson, V starts with very starts with V, and vertical starts with V. And if you just think of that, you'll know that a vertical line is very tall. And he whispers to me, Miss Peterson, it doesn't have to be very tall, but it will help you remember. So if that helps you, that has certainly helped me to remember that vertical lines are the ones that go up and down. Next, we're going to do diagonal. And I'm not going to have an opposite word for this, but I just want to show you two different diagonal lines. Diagonal lines, can go either way. They can tip down this way. They can tip down this way. Those are both diagonal lines. Now, I love the word diagonal because it is a word that you can break apart. When you are taking tests where you have to, look at a word and tell the definition of it, like vocabulary type tests, you don't always know what the word means, but you can try to break it down by its parts, okay? And so with diagonal, I can break this down into its parts. The first part is dye. Dye, some kids will say, oh, it means like I dye my hair. No, that's D-Y-E. And some kids will say, well, it's D-I-E, like, oh, I died. Nope, this is just D-I, okay? So D-I, that means two. Diagonal, it has this angle and this angle. That's where the agon comes from. Let's try to think of some other words that start with die. The word dilemma starts with D-I, and that means you have two choices. You have to choose between this or this. It's a dilemma, okay? Dioxide, carbon dioxide. We've heard of that before. That's CO2 would be how you write carbon dioxide. Well, the O2 is the dioxide, the two oxygens, okay? So we have a lot of words in our language that we know that start with DI, and they might be words that mean two. So think about that the next time you have to take one of those vocabulary tests. Can you break the word down into its parts? All right, number 4, we're going to have continuous. And we're going to have broken. So continuous is just a line that continues. It can be a straight line. It can be a silly line. It doesn't matter. But continuous just means it continues. Once the pen goes down, it doesn't stop. A broken line is when it has anything that isn't straight, but you can tell, like isn't connected, but you can tell that it is forming a line. So that's a broken line. For the fifth one, we're going to talk about two types of broken lines. We're going to talk about dotted lines and dashed lines. So a dotted line is just, a row of little dots. They're not circles, that would be a shape, but they're just little dots. And then dashed would be a row of dashes. I love teaching younger students this because they never say dash, they say dashted. So this is a dashted line. I'm missing them today. All right, next we have zigzag and jagged. Now these two lines are very close to the same. Zigzag, is just more like a steady mountain. Jagged, usually when people are talking about a jagged line, it's going to be super duper sharp. So those lines are going to go up and down more drastically. And then for number 7, we're going to have wavy and scalloped. So wavy is going to go, oh shoot, nope, that's the opposite. Well, whatever, we'll go with it. And scalloped. Okay, so those are two types of lines. I like to use this if I'm making like a gingerbread house, the roof. These can be the shingles. And then one bonus would be a type of line called embattled. And for that, little kids love to make this. You go over, up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over, up, over, down. And the great thing about this is that it is like the top of a castle. But this is another one of those words where you can break it apart. It literally has the word battle in it, and so that should be a clue to you. Okay, which of these lines looks like it might be used in battle? Well, the top of a castle is like this so that people can stand here, shoot their bow and arrow, and then hide behind this so that they don't get shot when they're reloading their bow and arrow. So these are lots of different kinds of lines. There's even more than this, but these are just a few that I want to make sure that you know for our line unit.